I don't think I ever expected to be tested. I didn't expect the faith to be tested quite this much.
My name's Arber, and welcome to this week's episode of the Formica Table podcast, where we'll be discussing episode 6 of Twin Peaks: The Return. As usual, I'm joined by Killer Rob and Mark Frosty Walker. So, Rob, tell the fine folks about yourself.
Oh, hi guys, I'm Rob Valentine, and I have seen The King and I.
And Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark, and someday my log will have something to say about all of this. But for now, it's just me.
All right, okay. So, episode 6. I've got a bit of a sense of what you think about it, Mark. So I'm going to see what Rob thought of it.
Well, kicking off the episode, my first thought was, oh shit, I'm not going to be happy with this, am I? But as it dragged along, I started to get into it more, and by the end I'd become fairly engaged. And although my viewing experience this week was better than the one I had last week, I'm now getting worried that this isn't some kind of introductory preamble to Season 3 proper. This is Twin Peaks Season 3 now, and we're going to have to get used to it.
Can I just go on a rant right now?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Please do.
Okay, I thought it was the blandest, most frustrating episode yet. It feels like they wrote an insanely long movie and then sort of had to arbitrarily cut it to pieces for the sake of how it's being delivered to the audience. You know, they had to chop it up into 18 parts. And sometimes it's been okay, and other times it's just not working. And, 1 hour a week as opposed to a movie or a Netflix series that you can just binge in a weekend. I think it requires something that resembles a more settled narrative, because we're constantly jumping, from character to character, introducing new characters. Some of whom we see for like just a fleeting moment, then we don't see them again for another 3 weeks maybe. And I guess there's, the problem is there's that, and there's just still no real protagonist, or rather, the one that we've got has kind of been lobotomized. And a protagonist should be somebody whose shoes we stand in. I'm pretty much outside Dougie the whole time, staring in at him, and then with this episode, having spent like 17 to 18 minutes just watching him scribble on insurance claims, it made me want to eat my hand.
Well, the impression that I get is I don't think David Lynch gives a crap. I think all he's interested in is doing his thing, and if it dovetails nicely into a TV narrative, great. If it doesn't, he just does not care. But
that for me just seems like anarchy for the sake of anarchy.
I think this is how it's going to be for that all 18 episodes. So.
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
I can't see it changing.
Sure, and that's the great man's prerogative. And I think anybody going into this new series would be fools to expect conventional television. But I think when Lynch and Frost started Twin Peaks, they took the challenge of taking, what was essentially like conventional telly, soap opera, weekly drama, and they did something groundbreaking by filling it full of content that was anything but conventional. So I mean, that's just they were trying to do something really special, but they were doing it within the restrictions of the format and taking pains to carefully craft each episode which is what I don't think they've done here. Just each episode has not been crafted with openings and endings and narrative threads that kind of ebb and flow, and cliffhangers as well. Those were, they've not been kind of crafted in that way. And I think all that stuff back then was considered in a way that it's absolutely not now. And so as we go along, it just seems more and more obvious, especially these the musical Roadhouse numbers. Now I can see that they're sort of an easy way to approximate a kind of ending when there isn't one. For when they haven't really crafted a proper one into the writing, they feel almost like an afterthought. It's like, oh, we need an ending here. Okay, well, let's throw in a musical number.
But obviously, we start off with Dougie. He's in the same place. I mean, I know exactly what you mean about Dougie Coop being our protagonist, And it is extremely frustrating to have our protagonist doing nothing, because you normally expect a protagonist to be doing something to push the story along. That is like the protagonist's job. But Dougie Coop is so just reactionary to what's going on around him.
I guess I could sit and look at a character, a central character, main character. I could sit and look at them doing nothing. If it's directed by David Lynch, then in theory I could watch them do anything. But in this case, it's just we're not inside of him. We're not inside his head. Not very much.
But I have to say, I've got pretty strong feelings about Dougie Coop, and I hope and pray at any moment he's going to snap out of it. But I thought there were some nice moments, like Coop stroking the badge of the police officer.
That's my badge, sir. Yeah. He's got this thing for my badge.
He likes. Thank you, officer.
Or when his wife is trying to usher him upstairs, and he's just kind of staring at the stairs.
Upstairs, Dougie.
And then the thing with the clapping to turn the light on. These are all nice little moments.
I like the scene with his son and the lamp and the clapping thing, and I thought that was sweet. And I'm really grateful that there was that moment of something real. That connection between the two of them. And I suddenly thought about the son, how this must be difficult for him, because effectively, his dad's kind of just not there. He's a kind of empty space. But it was brief. It was fleeting in amongst that 18 minutes of Dougie stuff.
Yeah. And I thought in this episode that Janie E., Naomi Watts' character, actually started coming into her own a little bit, because she is absolutely fuming when she opens the envelope that was pushed under the door that was given to her by the police officers, and she sees that it's a picture of her husband and Jade, and Dougie Coop is like smiling fondly, and Jade gives two rides.
I'll bet she did.
And to be fair to Janie E., she's mad, but she's still kind of slightly protective of him when the phone call comes.
Maybe it's Jade calling.
Jade.
Oh my God, Dougie.
And it's, the local goons who are demanding money, how she kind of takes control of the situation and doesn't throw Dougie under a bus.
Yeah, she gets sort of proactive.
So we get like a curious little break in the middle of these Dougie scenes, where we have a welcome return of the traffic light.
Yes, yeah.
With a bit of electrical hum going on in the background, which I thought was a nice call back to the original series. And then we're back to Dougie doing his homework, and we get Philip Gerard, Mike the One-Armed Man, appearing, saying, pretty much echoing how I'm feeling when he says,
You have to wake up with her.
Yeah, we were all feeling that.
Yeah. And to be honest, at that moment, I thought that might have been the trigger for Coop to start coming out of this.
Oh, I was hoping.
And he doesn't.
No,
I'm starting to think we're going to have Dougie for quite some time.
I mean, there's some hope in the black suit that comes later, but it's just prick teasing us. Whatever the Lynch equivalent of a prick teaser is, that's what he's doing. He's just fucking with us, man.
Curiously, the what seems to be like the Dougie Coop musical theme, which is going off in the background, which sounds very much like Angelo Badalamenti, isn't Angelo Badalamenti?
No, you mentioned this last week.
Yeah, it's Johnny Jewel.
I like it.
And yeah. But it does reinforce, in my mind, where the hell is Angelo Badalamenti in all of this?
Yeah.
Sitting on a beach, counting his money, I reckon.
So I really don't know what he's put into this project, because there seems to be a lot of third-party music that's forming the backbone of what's going on here. So I don't know. I don't know. Just makes me think, it was announced that he was going to do the music, but 6 episodes in, I've yet to hear much in the way other than stuff which was from the original series and Fire Walk with Me. What's new? So anyway, so that's our initial bit of Dougie Coop that we had to plow through.
Sorry for being crude.
It's okay.
We have to put like explicit content on the podcast.
Well, especially as we come on to the next bit, which is we see Albert.
Oh, that was a wonderful line as he stepped out of the cab or the car or whatever it was.
Fuck Gene Kelly, you motherfucker!
That was a glimpse of the man that we know and love.
Yeah, I did have a huge wave of relief when Albert appeared. It was just like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
All 30 seconds we got of him.
Yeah. Although I was thinking, he really had turned into his dad by that point, hadn't he?
Yeah.
So he's somewhere where it's raining, maybe somewhere like Seattle or something like that.
I figured it was like Washington.
Yeah, maybe. But definitely somewhere kind of northern where it rains all the time. And he goes to Max Von's bar and discovers somebody who's been a mystery since the very first episode of Twin Peaks, which is Diane, Laura Dern.
Hello, Albert.
I think you said this, Jason, that she was going to be Diane.
Yeah, I just had a gut feeling that if Laura Dern's going to be in it, she'll be Diane. I don't know why I thought that, but it turns out that gut feeling was correct. Although I had no idea that she was going to be wearing a white wig.
Was it white? I thought it was just very blonde.
It's definitely not how I imagined Diane was gonna look like.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, the question I have is, should you ever meet Mrs. Columbo?
In theory, or on principle rather, I agree with you, Rob, on that. But let's see. Maybe it may bear more fruit that justifies her appearance.
I'm kind of split on this because one part of me thinks that she should have just remained an enigmatic mystery who we didn't need to meet. It was just a nice thing that she was always there in the background. We didn't know anything about her. But at the same time, if she was definitely a person who knew Coop very, very well, and if they had questions about the person that they've got in custody,
it makes sense. Yeah,
it makes sense from a narrative point of view that they would go back to her. So,
is the implication that she's no longer with the FBI and she's sort of a rogue element onto herself?
Yeah, that was my feeling.
Good.
So that was a nice little scene, which I'm sure a lot of Twin Peaks fans, squealed out loud when Albert said
Diane.
I'm pretty sure a little bit of wee was let out all over the world.
I may have.
Yeah, I had both reactions at once. It was like, oh wow, it's Diane, and I also thought, oh, that's risky. Don't screw that up, please.
Is it midichlorian? It's potential midichlorian stuff, isn't it?
It has the potential. It has the potential, but we'll just have to wait and see. So after that scene, we go to definitely my favourite scene of this particular episode.
My second favourite.
And it was the Canadian drugs bit with drug pusher Red, played by Balthazar Getty, who you'll remember from Lost Highway. So this particular scene, I found absolutely wonderful. It felt really, really Lynchian as opposed to Mark Frost.
It was the only good, it was the only scene that approached anything good, I think, this week.
And so we've got Richard, who's just tried some of the new drugs that have come over the border, called Sparkle, and drug pusher Red is, they're clearly setting up some kind of deal, but everything is so edgy and when Red starts stamping on the floor and then explains it with,
I have a problem with my liver.
or starts doing random kung fu and asks,
Have you ever studied your hand?
Yeah, it's great.
It's-
Yeah.
You ever seen the movie The King and I? It's it was just pure wonderful stuff.
Thanks to the performances, though. I mean, thanks to Baltzar Getty and the guy who plays Dick Horn.
Yeah, Eamon Farron, I think he is.
I think this Lynch stuff that you're talking about, there's been so many examples where that stuff can fall flat, especially in this new series, and it just shows you how much this kind of idiosyncratic Lynchian stuff lives and dies on the performances. And here you've got two guys who really know what they're doing, and Lynch is on his game, and it works.
When Lynch is on fire, no one can touch him. You know, like that with that coin thing when he flips up in the air and it just hangs in the air and then ends up in Richard Horn's mouth, and then it's back in Red's hand and it's disappeared. Just that whole thing is just so freaky. I love it.
Now, the thing that really got me in that scene was the reference to The King and I, because the most famous song, or one of the most famous songs in that movie, is Getting to Know You. And Leland sings that in the original series.
You are precisely my cup of tea. Where might you folks be from, sir?
Right here in Twin Peaks.
Right here in Twin Peaks. That's terrific. How about those steeplejacks, huh? Getting to know you. Getting to feel.
This is giving me kind of goosebumps because you know what? I was thinking that the way Balthazar Getty was playing it, I know he kind of justified it by saying, oh, he's got a problem with his liver or something like that. It felt like this was a guy just pulling on his skin, you know, just having some like somebody who's just landed in his skin and sort of like adjusting it to fit. And you know, if you watch the performance, he's you know, he's constantly doing strange things with his body, and I just wondered, is this where Mr. C has gone? But now you said something about Leland, and maybe, you know, maybe there's something to do with the coin as well, because we get a scene later on with Hawk and the coin, and I started to think about, you know, White Lodge, Black Lodge, you know, always this with Lynch, it's these kind of opposites and doubles, you know, light and dark.
So you think there might be some kind of like lodge influence?
I think this guy is maybe there's more to him. He may be a product of the Black Lodge.
Yeah. So anyway, we go from this amazing Lynchian scene to the other end of the scale when we meet Carl Rodd, who, you know, Harry Dean Stanton, I'm always glad to see him on screen. But weirdly, I thought the Fat Trout was in Deer Meadow.
Totally. I was going to ask you that. That was my first note, was where the hell is that trailer park?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the sign, when we see the Fat Trout Trailer Park, it says New Fat Trout Trailer Park. So, and it's somehow migrated to Twin Peaks. And I was like, what is going on here? You know, it's like you've just taken a bit of Deer Meadow and dropped it in the middle of Twin Peaks. And it's made all the weirder, because we're going to jump ahead a little bit here, to after the boy is knocked down by the truck, we see a telephone pole.
It's the same one with the same number. Exactly the same number.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. That was just... Okay, I'm just going to have to roll with that because I can't... It's clearly... It's not going to be one of those things where a character's going to stop and suddenly explain why
But then
the Fat Trout Trailer Park is now in Twin Peaks.
But then it did make me think about what we talked about last week. I had this sort of crazy theory, as I sometimes do, about Mr. C and maybe the denizens of the Black Lodge sort of transporting themselves via telephone lines. And this was a telephone pole. And I just wondered if maybe this is a teleporting telephone pole. If it's the same one, maybe it can move around. I don't know. It's not too far out there when we're talking about David Lynch.
Yeah, I'll give you that. You know, in the context of the series so far, yeah, I wouldn't rule anything out.
Good. So we're all good with the teleporting telephone pole.
Yeah, we're totally on board with that. But for me, the physical location of the trailer park aside, this just went a little bit weird because we've got Richard Horn, who's a bit high on drugs and a bit pissed off that has been called the kid, doesn't want to wait for the traffic and goes on the opposite side of the road and ends up mowing down a kid that Carl Rod had seen earlier, which is slightly poignant because, as you read in The Secret History of Twin Peaks, and apologies if this is a spoiler.
This might be a spoiler, yeah.
Carl Rod's wife and child died during childbirth, and so that kind of like plaintive smile that he gives when he sees the mother and kid, I think kind of resonates a little bit more. I mean, you don't need to know that backstory to kind of like appreciate the smile, but it just kind of fills you in a little bit with Carl Rod's backstory. An additional note as well is that Carl Rod and the log lady were taken into the Black Lodge decades previously as well.
Oh, come on. I've got to... I'm not anywhere near there. I'm like 100 pages in.
So that probably has some relevance later when Carl Rod, when the kid is knocked down and he sees a terrible CGI flame thing.
I knew you'd pick up on that.
Which is clearly the spirit of the child departing and vanishing into the sky.
Vanishing into the sky or mingling in with the telephone lines?
Well, whatever it does.
All right.
It was just a terrible bit of effects. But for me, the worst bit, all of this, I'm totally fine with, except
I think I know what you're going to say.
I think so too.
they wheeled in the
worst
worst
extras.
actors. Yes,
Yeah, the absolute worst extras from anywhere.
Did they just ask the crew? Look, do you want to make an extra couple of bucks and pretend you're a bystander, please? I mean, not to disparage the acting talent of your average makeup department, but this one wasn't good. This was not good. It felt like bystanders in something like Sharknado.
Yeah.
It was an asylum movie level of acting.
I don't think the extras can fully shoulder all the blame here because, I mean, it's really poorly staged as well. They're sort of standing in lines around the thing, and it feels cheap and it feels poorly staged, and it feels like all the extras, they're all kind of reacting, they're all just getting one standard direction and they're all reacting on the same direction. They're all behaving like they have a hive mind.
If you drained the colour out, you could have a voiceover saying, "Have you been involved in an accident that wasn't your fault?" That's what it was like.
Yes. Well, here's a little fascinating fact for you, which you may or may not know, that the intersection that this takes place is exactly the same intersection
With the one on Man and Leland.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought I recognised it.
I couldn't help compare and contrast the power of that scene in Fire Walk with Me, which was like white knuckle, amazing direction, just everything was on fire, with the really kind of limp direction of
Utterly limp.
this particular scene, which just kind of felt flat. We had like a bit of stirring music, and we had our extras kind of like putting their hands to their heads and shaking their heads slowly.
This week directed by David Limp.
Oh.
Yes. And I was just like, how can you have such an amazing scene immediately preceding this, followed by this utterly limp scene, that no amount of stirring music could save?
Oh, and they tried with that stirring music.
Oh, they did.
The music makes it worse.
Yeah.
It did. So much as I like this episode overall, that's not to say that it is not an episode full of peaks and troughs, and this was most definitely a trough.
Just to go back to a peak, for me, my favourite just moment in the episode was Carl sitting on a bench looking up at the trees.
Yeah.
Yes, that was beautiful.
That was my favourite bit. No plot,
Yeah.
no exposition, no characterisation, just Carl looking up at the trees.
Well, that's something that Twin Peaks always did so well, was just have these sort of these moments that would just break the flow of the thing and just force you to kind of just look at the wind blowing the trees or something. And that was quite unusual, I think, at the time. I remember thinking that was weird, but it really gave you, again, it sort of gave you this sense of place. You know, it allowed you to just stare out of the window as you would in real life, as opposed to when you're watching a TV show. And there was always something special about that.
It's one of the great things about Twin Peaks that it's so dependent on the landscape.
Yeah.
And right down to even the interiors echo the landscape. You know, it's that part of America, it's the Pacific Northwest, and even the lodges and that whole atmosphere it's a product of the land. You know, it's always felt that way. So having a moment like that in this episode was wonderful because it lets you meditate on it just for a few seconds.
An interesting fact about when we first meet Carl Rod is that he's joined in the van by a character called Mickey. And I don't know if you picked up on what Mickey's wife was called.
No.
His wife was called Linda, the person who was going to get the electric wheelchair from the government. And that made me think back to the Giant's clue when he said, we now have a Richard Horn, and we now have got a Linda, who is Mickey's wife.
Ooh.
Is this starting to bring the Giant's clues back into or bring it into the story a little bit?
Do you know what? This show doesn't deserve you, Jason.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I liked Mickey. I liked him.
Did you? I didn't. I thought it was a weak performance. I think, but I mean, it's not easy to stand next to Harry Dean Stanton and shine.
Yeah, Harry Dean Stanton has never really changed, but he's starting to look a bit like Doc Cotton.
That's amazing that you see that. And you're right. Completely right. Yeah. And you know what? Balthazar Getty is a bit like Nick, isn't he?
Ma. I'm back, Ma.
In fact, Balthazar Getty was pretty unrecognisable, I thought. When he first came on, I thought, God, they've sort of let the air out of Henry Rollins.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
So after the worst extras ever, they
truly were. I'm glad we're all on the same page there.
Oh yeah,
It was excruciating.
It was. How that got into anyway. I've got to move on because
What was it? Second unit? Maybe it was second unit. Maybe Lynch wasn't there.
Maybe it was.
It's just that they're all doing. Sorry to keep us here, but it's just that they're all doing this. It's just that they're all doing the same thing. Like, wouldn't one of them be sort of freaking out on their knees and another one be fiddling around in the pocket for their mobile phone or something? But they're all just doing the same thing.
And why is nobody helping?
Nobody's doing anything.
Then nobody's moving. It's like the kid could still be alive. You know, he could still be breathing.
Not after his mum picked him up like that. I thought, oh no, just leave him where he is. Just wait for the paramedics.
Yeah, his neck.
Don't move him.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So we go to the diner, and I thought it was pretty good to hear Heidi's infectious laugh.
And when I pass by the double R, I say, I wonder if they have a slice of cherry pie with my name on it.
The lines that she had in this one scene is more than all her lines combined in the two series of Twin Peaks. So that was weird, because normally she's just like, she comes in late and she giggles and that's pretty much it for Heidi. So to actually hear her like saying lines
again, though, this is 25 years later, and this, you know, the staff rotor has barely changed at all.
But we have a very chatty customer in the diner.
Miriam,
yes. So she's a teacher at one of the schools in Twin Peaks, and when Richard does his hit and run, he kind of glances over and sees her staring at him. So I'm wondering, you know, if she's a teacher, she probably knows a lot of the kids in Twin Peaks. Does she recognize Richard? And either way, I don't think it's looking good for Miriam at this point. Anyway, after that, we got a brief scene of Richard doing a bit of a half-assed job of wiping that kid's blood off the front of his truck. I'm not sure that would, fool the forensics team if they have a chance to look. But
what an idiot!
There you go. One of the things with Richard, because he seems like he's such a bad kid. One of the thoughts that occurred to me was that we're lacking a really, really nuanced villain in this thing. We've got a lot of people who just seem like really, really intrinsically bad. And when you think back to Leland, even though, obviously the actor didn't know for most of it that he was Bob, but, when you look back at the whole thing, Leland was clearly this nuanced, amazing character who you could actually feel a bit of sympathy for, a little bit of empathy for. And at the same time, he's this horrific, nightmarish person when he's possessed by Bob, and we're kind of lacking that. We've got a lot of cardboard cutout bad people.
We're lacking so much.
Yeah, we are 6 hours into an 18-hour thing, and it feels like we're just still setting up stuff. We haven't really, we've been introduced to a bunch of characters, but we haven't actually done anything with them yet.
No, exactly. This is my point. It feels like narrative ADHD. We're jumping around, setting things up, and not really paying anything off yet, or very little anyway.
We skip by Rancho Rosa, where the police discover Dougie's license plate on the roof of the 119 woman, and there was just something in the fact that she was like looking slightly towards the ceiling as the police officer are on a roof, and she says it, that made me think that actually maybe you were right, Mark. This is kind of like a reverse of 911.
119.
Not quite sure what that means, but I do like. I wonder if she had any difficulty remembering her lines.
Well, if she did, that'd be it.
So after Rancho Rosa, we go to Las Vegas and we see Mr. Todd, Duncan Todd.
That was welcome.
He sees a red square on his laptop, gets out an envelope from his safe using a cloth to avoid fingerprints, I noticed. And then subsequently, this envelope is pushed under the door of Ike the Spike, or as I like to call him, Vern Troyer's Mini-Me from Austin Powers. What? This was another moment where I was like, what am I watching? Why is it bloody Austin Powers all of a sudden?
Yeah, but we have a diminutive hitman drinking bullet bourbon, and he's got a bodkin. Do you call it a bodkin?
Is that the spike? Is that?
Yeah, his spiky thing.
I have no idea what that's called.
I like the word bodkin, so I think from now on,
fine.
Yeah. And so he stabs a picture of Lorraine, the woman who organised the original hit on Dougie, and a picture of Dougie himself. And then Lorraine gets very, very gruesomely stabbed to death by Mini-Me, who then goes after the witness and ends up bending his spike, his bodkin. Seems a little bit upset about that.
Yeah, one question about Lorraine. When we first meet her and she's talking on the phone to the two hitmen, and you got the loud music in her office. Now, originally I assumed that was diegetic, but on this episode where you get the theme music when he's looking at her photograph.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
It's like
which stops suddenly when he stabs her in the face in the picture.
Yeah, it just occurred to me maybe there isn't actually ever any music playing when we're with her. It's just for our benefit.
Yeah. Because it's playing again when Mini-Me appears to stab her.
Yeah, or she just really likes that track.
Yeah, she really loves that track. It's on 24/7. Piped into all the assassins' rooms in the world as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, it seemed a bit of a weird one. It was like, hey, you remember who this is, don't you? We've got so many characters in Twin Peaks that we need to sort of like give you a bit of her theme music so you know exactly who it is. and we'll play it again instead of any kind of like dramatic music. We'll just have this kind of hip hop beat thing going on in the background while she's getting stabbed in the chest. Angelo, where are you? We need you.
If you were going to whack someone, though, I mean, personally, not pay someone else to do it for you, but it's not the most going into someone's place of work with a shiv or whatever, and just killing everyone you can and getting drenched in blood.
Yeah, he's going to draw attention to himself coming out of that building.
I mean, also sending a dwarf is. I mean, it's not. He's not particularly inconspicuous, is he?
People would remember him.
Yeah,
I'm sure. But another thought occurred to me as well. It's like, if you had access to this hitman, why did you not send him in the first place to kill Dougie rather than going through Lorraine, who then hires her two goons?
Yeah, because he's extremely effective.
Yeah, he gets the job done, unlike the other two assassins.
I mean, bending down to pick up your keys is not going to save you with that guy.
No. Oh dear. So,
who is the guy Mr. Todd is working for at this point? Who do we think it is?
Well, I think it might be Philip Jeffries. I think Philip Jeffries might be our millionaire guy.
Yeah.
Because when we first, or when I say Philip Jeffries, I mean whoever is pretending to be Philip Jeffries, potentially. Well, I don't know whether it's going to be a new person playing Bowie's role or
Iggy Pop
or what. But when we first hear his voice,
it's weird that they never asked me to do it.
It is weird because how would you do it, Mark?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because I'm pretty good at doing impersonations of Philip Jeffries.
I find that quite hard to believe.
Okay, well, let me demonstrate. We're not going to talk about Judy. We're not going to talk about Judy at all.
It's uncanny, Mark. It really is. It's like having David Bowie in the room with me.
I think so.
You got the part, kid.
But when we first meet whoever is claiming to be Philip Jeffries, he says,
I missed you in New York.
I didn't think about it at the time, but thinking about it now, I wonder if that meant in the glass box.
Yeah.
You know, he was hoping to meet Dougie or Coop. It's not Dougie, but Coop. He was hoping that he would appear in the glass box, and maybe that weird creature thing would kill him then, perhaps. So
that's where I am with it. Yeah. As a character option with what they've got to work with, Philip Jeffries is just perfect.
Where are we up to now? So we go back to Dougie in the office. I did like the lift scene where the doors are just kind of closing, and you know, Dougie's got that stupid smile on his face, and then he gets trapped in. It felt like some of the goofy stuff you'd see in the original series.
Somebody, a friend on Facebook, posted a picture of a comparison between that image of Carl McLaughlin standing in the lift and a picture of Jack Nance in Eraserhead standing in an elevator, or clutching the folder in exactly the same way. Extremely well spotted. It's an obvious reference to Eraserhead.
Of course, that's the origin of the chevrons.
Which makes me worry that Lynch is getting a bit too involved in that kind of stuff and not concentrating on the extras.
Well, it does seem to be David Lynch's greatest hits, you know, like a Status Quo album or something. But I did like it, and I liked, you know, when his boss is kind of like calling him,
Jones! Jones!
and Dougie's looking around going, what? Who? And it's not until he says, Dougie, that, you know, he finally realizes it's him, and he gets shepherded into the office, and, you know, his boss is kind of going through the folders. And initially he's just going, what the hell is this? What have you given me? But clearly, you know, the light that was helping Dougie draw all his step ladders and stairs and scribbles is clearly means something to Bushnell Mullins, and eventually he says,
I want you to keep this information to yourself.
which I don't think will be hard for Dougie. Another funny bit for me was where, in fact, the funniest bit in this scene was
You really enjoyed this Dougie scene, didn't you?
he went out to shake Dougie's hand. Dougie just kind of turns around and mirrors what he's doing. I thought that was kind of funny. A bit silly. Doesn't mean that I want more Dougie, but if we're going to get Dougie, at least make these scenes a little bit funny.
I think if we're going to have to do Dougie, then can we not just have a spin-off called Dougie and I don't have to watch it?
I did like Tom Sizemore just nervously behind the glass of his office. That was good. But the very fact they're going into this, I've said this before, but the fact they're going into this much detail with that whole subplot makes me feel that, yeah, we're in for the long haul with all that.
I have a lot of faith actually in the way this whole thing has been constructed in terms of plot, clues going somewhere and eventually paying off. I feel like there's a strong hand in there, and I think most likely, as you suggested before, Jason, it's Mark Frost, and yet, despite how clever all that seems, if the Dougie sections, for example, are as kind of excruciating as they are to get through, it seems wasted.
Yeah, I mean, the problem's not plot; the problem's the form.
I mean, the scene at the beginning with the insurance claims, where he's the light is guiding him. I mean, really, we get it very quickly. We need to see maybe one or two pieces of paper and we've got it. But we sit and watch him go through scribble on 7 sheets of insurance, or 8, 9 sheets of. It felt like 20. It felt like a whole book, telephone book's worth. Again, and maybe that's indicative of how the thing's not been written. It's not been tailored to 55-minute or 60-minute segments.
Yeah, but again, we get it all really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've no doubt that scene has some relevance. No doubt about it. But I don't need to see every pencil mark that he makes and every weird scribble that he makes.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think David Lynch cares. Like I said at the beginning, he just wants to do it his way, and we've just got to go along for the ride. We go from that to another one of my favourite scenes. I mentioned earlier, Janie E coming into her own a little bit, and she really comes into her own in the park scene where she meets the 2 goons that are after the 50 grand of Dougie's money, and I really liked how she laid into Tommy, played by Ronnie Jean Blevins, and then Jimmy, played by Jeremy Davis, which was nice to see. She just laid into them.
What kind of world are we living in where people can behave like this, treat other people this way without any compassion or feeling for their suffering? We are living in a dark, dark age, and you are part of the problem.
I think that they were taken aback by just how she was.
Tough dame.
Yeah, it felt like Lynch was or Frost. I don't know, but one of them was.
It felt like Frost dialogue to me. If I had to put money on it, it felt like Frost dialogue.
Yeah, it felt like there was something they had to say about the banking crisis that was on their chest, and they'd been pregnant with it for the first 5 or 6 episodes, and it all came out. It was born.
Yeah, especially when she said, we're the 99%.
It's probably the most. It's probably the most political Twin Peaks has ever been, and the most sort of. Because Twin Peaks had this wonderful quality of sort of timelessness about it. This was very sort of specific. It was certainly a post 2008 scene.
What did you think, Rob?
Well, I thought I'm 2 episodes now from finishing The Sopranos. I am behind, but I did think, tough dame and all that, but that would have not worked against Tony or Syl or Paulie. So for loan sharks, they're lame sharks. She'd have got whacked.
Yeah, I think lucky for her.
Lucky for her, they were comedy loan sharks.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone really bad. Personally, as a loan shark, if I were a loan shark, I'm not. If I were, I wouldn't have stood for that. I'd have taken the money, then I'd have kicked the living shit out of her.
But that's just you, Rob. That's just your personality. So, moving on, after that, we get Restroom Hawk, which is the name of my new band. A coin that he drops. And when he picks it up, he realizes that it's got a Native American head, which leads him to look at the Nez Perce manufacturing sign on the toilet stall door.
Which, having read the secret history of Twin Peaks, it made me wee a little bit.
Yeah, because and also Hawk is Nez Perce as well. That's his tribe that he comes from. And then he realizes that there's a rivet missing.
Something is missing, and you have to find it. It has to do with Special Agent Dale Cooper. The way you will find it has something to do with your heritage.
So there's a rivet missing, which kind of piques his curiosity, and he ends up getting a jemmy to prise that thing off, and finds some sheets of paper, handwritten paper. And my first thought was, oh my God, are these like missing pages from Laura Palmer's diary?
Ooh.
Put there perhaps by Mike, put there perhaps by Leland or somebody else. I don't know, but
it's funny. We were talking earlier on about I think I suggested that maybe that when Laura Palmer shot up through the roof of the Black Lodge, maybe that was going to be the last we've seen of her. I sort of hope that it isn't. Because I don't know, and I have a suspicion that it won't be. I think she's going to come back and she's going to be integral.
Well, I think so too. Simply because when every episode starts, she's in the credits. Yeah.
And also, some of the titles of the episodes have been released, and one of them, in a few weeks' time, mentions Laura's name in the title. So I definitely don't think we're done with Laura Palmer at all, not by a long way.
I think that's right. I think it's as it should be.
I have no idea if these torn pages are from the diary, but it certainly got me thinking. And you can see some elements in this new season 3 of Twin Peaks where they've really gone back and looked at the old episodes and have found a few like loose threads, and it feels like they're pulling on those threads to see in this season 3 where it might take them.
I liked when Chad popped into the loo.
Me too.
I was thinking he might have been in there to snort that cocaine that he got in that cigarette box from Dick Horn.
Well, he got money from Dick Horn rather than drugs. So I think he's taking backhanders.
I'm sure he's got a supply though. I'm sure he's got his own stash.
He looks like the sort of person who would take a sneaky sniff.
I just like the fact he's a petty little dick.
Yeah, nice dialogue between him and Hawk as well.
Clear this with the sheriff. Tell him if you don't.
Yeah, you do that, Chad.
Chad appears in the next scene as well, which I actually found this scene surprisingly touching.
I thought I was meant to find it touching, and I didn't like that. I mean, he's so utterly unlikable. He's almost a caricature, And the what he did at the end, I mean, of course, just to explain, you're talking about when. Again, we've got another one of these soured marriages. The original one that we were talking about last week, the sheriff and his wife.
Doris and Sheriff Truman, yeah.
She's nagging at him. And they're listening to it. And then the operator...
Deputy Exposition.
Says...
She didn't used to be like this. You didn't know that their son committed suicide?
Yeah, I heard something about that. He couldn't take being a soldier.
I just felt like my feelings towards Chad were being so kind of obviously manipulated, that I didn't appreciate it, because I mean he's such an asshole, and it's like, I get it. Please make it a little bit more. He says, "No, he killed himself because he couldn't handle the war. Boo hoo!" It was I don't know. There's something in the performance to me that just was a total bomb note, and and maybe the music as well.
But for me, it wasn't so much about Chad, because I think Chad's just a total, not a 100% douche.
Yeah.
But it was really in how Sheriff Truman is kind of like dealing with his wife and being extremely patient. And it was the fact, that they've had this complete and utter tragedy in their life, which has completely transformed the personality of his wife. And he's trying his best to deal with that. When we first meet her, it's like it's done for comedy value.
Yeah.
And we were all laughing. And then this time, it just has this real kind of like bittersweet feel to it. Like you're like, that's why she's that way.
I completely get what you're saying, Jason, 100%. But I just feel like the mechanics of it are so obvious, that I can hear the wheels turning on it, and I just sort of feel myself resisting it.
Yeah, I was just affronted by the way the exposition was just slopped in front of us. It was done so badly that I couldn't feel what they wanted me to feel.
Well, you're both heartless swines, because I fell for it.
But if Chad had been moved by the revelation, that'd been fascinating. Oh, he can be moved by stuff like that, but he also takes drug money. He's also corrupt and is a dick and a bully. But he's also moved by stuff that would have made him feel human. Which
is the kind of character complexity which would you can expect from Twin Peaks.
And it goes back to what I was saying as well about how all the bad people seem to be cardboard cutout bad people. We don't have anybody who's really, really emotionally nuanced.
Yeah, like Leland, or yeah.
After that, we end up back at the Roadhouse, where we've got Sharon Van Etten. It's one of those things, where you never had to say it out loud before, and when you do, you stumble over it, like Amanda Seyfried from last week. Seyfried, yeah.
Yeah. Where was she? I mean, again, it's this introducing characters and then leaving them for a week or more. I know now we're coming to.
Where's poor James?
Yeah, with James, yeah. I think, I know now we got to the end of pretty much the end of the episode, but I just think, come on, knuckle down with these characters you've introduced. I'm happy to see Laura Dern, I'm happy to see Harry Dean Stanton, but enough of the new and the new and the new and the new. Where's Bobby gone? We were introduced to him, and that was great. And give Shelley something to do. And where's Amanda Seyfried and her loser boyfriend? And like you say, where's James? And Sheriff Truman, I want to spend more time with him. He's great,
Yeah, we're getting loads of introductions and loads of Dougie trying to find the end of the sellotape scenes.
This is our 6th episode, which represents a third of the totality of the new series that we're going to get, and represents, if this is one long movie, this is our first act, which has now come to an end. So I thought this would be a good moment to maybe look back and review the 6 episodes that we've had so far, and maybe give our kind of like our feelings about what we've seen so far, because that's what we started to do just now. But I think, let's just look back and go, okay, where have we ended up? What can we expect going forward?
I think it's scary that we're this far through it. I mean, a third of the way through it is a sizable chunk. When we first started talking, I'd actually seen half of it, to be fair. I'd watched 1, 2, and 3. And I was disappointed. And I still feel a bit disappointed. I'm totally on board 100%. And even if we weren't doing the podcast, I would still follow this through to the end, because I love Lynch and I love Twin Peaks. And, I'm tuning in every week with hope in my heart that we're going to get to wherever it is that we want to find ourselves.
Well, okay, we're a third of the way through, but I'd argue this doesn't constitute Act 1. This feels like the first 10 pages of Act 1 in a regular length screenplay. We're setting characters up, but although lots of events have occurred, and I get a bit screenwritery here with a bit of the jargon, but we haven't really had an inciting incident yet.
Yeah, that's very producery.
Well, exactly. But scene 1 of Twin Peaks Series 1, there's a body on the beach. Boom. That's it.
We haven't had the body on the beach yet. Yeah.
So far we've had a bunch of plot strands waved at us and character introductions, but nothing is yet. The plot is not galvanized. Things have happened, but we're still in Act 1 somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys have said, but one of the things that has struck me looking back over it is how inconsistent it is. The first 2 episodes for me knocked it out of the park, and I was, punching the air going, yes, Twin Peaks is back, this is amazing. But all the episodes that we've had subsequently have been this kind of like peaks and valleys of, amazing bits, like the coin toss scene that was in this episode, or Dougie's low-pitched voice when he's, being interviewed.
Yeah.
We have these amazing moments, and we contrast them with stuff which just falls really, really flat. And when stuff is working, it's like as good as Lynch has ever done. It's just amazing stuff. But I can't help but feel that maybe 18 episodes for Lynch, has he bitten off like a little bit too much? That
was my feeling with this episode, and probably something to do with those extras. Even before this episode, I started to think, yeah, maybe. I mean, he's still sharper than a lot of other people, a lot of other kids on the block.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe they're having to work very fast when they're shooting the thing. It feels a lot of the time like stuff that's been shot really fast. It's an interesting exercise to compare those 2 scenes at that road junction that you were talking about earlier, the one in Fire Walk with Me and the one in this episode 6 with the accident with the boy. Look how intricately the scene from Fire Walk with Me is made. There are 100 different shots, and it's so intense with the sound design and the music and the revving the engine and the full-on kick-ass performances from Ray Wise and Cheryl Lee and also the I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy with one arm.
Yeah.
It's this kind of tumultuous thing, and this scene you have in episode 6 that should be by no means any less full-blooded, and I just think this is not David Lynch working at the top of his game.
It reminds me a little bit of, bizarrely, season 2 of Twin Peaks, where they had lots of guest directors.
Yeah.
We had Diane Keaton there directing an episode, and everything felt, sort of like, you had some good episodes, you had some bad episodes, then followed by a bad, and it had this up and down feeling, which is kind of echoed with what we've got here.
It's very, very uneven.
But at the same time, it's like a drug, it's like, this drug is bad for you, it's going to give you a hangover in the morning, but still you still want to take it.
Yeah, I'm in it till the end, no doubt about it. But I definitely got that creeping sense of doubt that you described. I don't know. I hate it. I hate myself for even saying this now, because I love him. I love the guy. He's. Maybe it is just down to the fact that it is this huge, colossal thing that's probably had to have been shot relatively cheaply and quickly, and unfortunately the cracks just show, and that's just the way it is.
And I wonder as well whether some of the inconsistencies are the fact that there are some scenes or some areas of the story and certain characters that Lynch feels really, really engaged with. Yeah. And there's some stuff maybe written by Frost, I have no idea, where he's just like, yeah, okay, I'll shoot it, but I'll shoot it really quickly. Maybe I'll let the third assistant director direct the extras in this scene, because I just want to move on, to something which is interesting me. I don't know.
I mean, he feels 100% like himself when he's directing those scenes with the younger cast.
What about you, Rob?
Well, I'm not expecting it to settle down now. Now we're 6 hours in, I'm thinking this is the way it's going to be. I've been kind of hoping it would pick a genre, but it's very, very messy and baggy, and I don't know if we're going to get an actual protagonist at the moment, because it would have been cool, or might be cool, if Dale Cooper is this figure they're out looking for or in the same way that Marlowe goes down the Congo looking for Kurtz. Diane could be on a quest for Coop or something, but at the moment, if the pattern of episodes continues, will we see Laura Dern or Diane next week or a week after?
For my money, I think I'm kind of resigned to the fact that we're going to see a lot more Dougie. I originally hoped that we'd get the old Coop back and he would snap out of this weird fugue that he's in, but I don't see this ending anytime soon. It would be nice to feel that we've kind of like established now in this first 6 hours all our main players, and instead of like continually introducing new vignettes of kind of like weird oddball characters, now we can concentrate on bringing all of these plot threads together, and it can start to pick up a little bit of pace.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much kind of tantalising stuff that's been dangled in front of our eyes.
And also, the scope of this, what this series could do or could be. I mean, Ian Brady died recently, and when a young person dies in the community, that never ever goes away. So the idea of Laura Palmer's death hanging over the town for generations is so rich.
So many seeds planted. Now it's harvest time.
That's it for this episode of the Formica Table podcast. Next week we'll be looking at episode 7 of Twin Peaks The Return and sharing our thoughts, opinions and theories, because nothing beats the taste sensation when maple syrup collides with ham. Until then, let's rock.